So what do we see here? And I think what is important lesson as well, that from what we can see from the text, is that there was planning involved. Moses' mother planned. She didn't leave this open to just chance. She planned. But ultimately she knew that that plan is only as God will. Okay, so it's that question of, she made a plan, but she knew that the outcome of it is in God's hands. Not in her hands, in God's hands. Okay? He dies, they throw him into the river, he would anyhow have been thrown in the river. Nothing to lose. He survives. That's great. He becomes the king, Pharaoh, second in command. Well, that's even better. But that's, sure, I don't think that was part of the plan. Right? I don't think that was part of the plan. But just his survival was important. So yeah, I think ultimately, therefore, that we need to follow this example as well. At the moment, my whole life as well, I always planned everything way in advance. I mentioned in some of other videos, I'm not going to mention it all again. But at the moment, I have no idea. I know my Myanmar visa, entrance visa, expires in the beginning, I think 4th of September. God willing, by the time you find it, it's already, well, it will most likely be already 2026. Anyhow, but this is in October of this year, right, of 2025. And so I need to kind of go back. I might not. I plan to. And after that, I kind of want to go to India. Will I? I have no idea. Some other stage I will need to plan. Is it going to happen? Might. I will plan. If it doesn't happen, well, it's my plan. But I'm not just going to, like to say, if you have no goals, and you're going to achieve nothing, because at least if you have a goal and you point towards it, at least you kind of shoot in a certain direction, a bow and arrow kind of it, like a goal, there's like a place where you're aiming for kind of idea. At least if you miss, at least you are going in some other direction. So yeah, I'm planning, but if it doesn't work out, it's one of those things, it's in God's hands. So like this as well, she planned, but if it didn't work out, if Moses, Pharaoh's daughter just found her and was like, oh, a Hebrew boy, and throw into, and all the stories that Moses' mother heard was wrong about the type of person Pharaoh's daughter was in, he would have died. That's just that. But she still planned. And she let in the outcome of the plan in God's hands. Yes, Miriam was there to see what's going to happen. Would she have been able, if the Pharaoh's daughter wanted to throw in, would she have been able to jump into the river and save out a little baby brother or something? No, most likely she would not have been able to, because then they most likely would have killed her on the spot as well, right? So they planned everything as far as humanly possible. But the outcome of it, they left in God's hands. And it is very important for us as Christians as well. We need to plan, but we always need to understand the outcome is in God's hands, right? That's why I say Dio volente, DV, right? And as kids growing up in South Africa, DV was something we used all the time. It's God's will, right? Dio, the will of God kind of idea. It comes from James, the idea of ultimately God's will. You can't say what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, you need to plan, but ultimately it's in God's hands. So I always would say, we'll see you next week, DV, Dio volente, God's so will. Right? Because we don't know if we'll be alive or not. And this is not Muslims. We can't do anything about the future kind of idea. The future is so predetermined that you just need to sit in one spot and wait for it to happen. No. But you need to understand, ultimately it's you plan, but the outcome belongs to God. It comes from Proverbs, it comes from James. That's just that. Right, so this is ultimately what happened. A planning of, and then God bringing this plan to fruition. If there was no plan, right, say Hyper-Calvinists saying that the elect will be saved. So you don't need to tell anyone the gospel. I mean, firstly, that's nonsense, because Jesus told us he gave us a command to go and teach the gospel to everyone, not to the elect, to everyone. And for you then not doing it is disobeying Jesus, and that's not a good idea. It's never a good idea. But anyhow, so they say, you're not, because the elect is elect, and they will anyhow come into the kingdom because they are elect. Right? So we don't need to do anything. It's like Moses' mother just saying, "Oh, we don't need to do anything. We can just leave Moses here. It's God's will." And that's how Muslims work, right? If he survives us, he survives us. If Pharaoh's daughter comes here and take him from here, then that's going to happen. If not, then we just sit here and do nothing about it. No, you got a task. They made a plan. You need to go out and preach the gospel. And the elect will hear and God will bring them in. But you need to do that because that is a task that's given to you, a command that's given to you by Jesus. It's final command. Okay, learn something from Moses' mother here. Therefore, plan, do, and let the outcome in God's hands. Don't cry if it doesn't work out the way you want. Accept it because God ultimately knows best. But you need to plan and you need to do. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to another spot. I think now we have finished. I mean, we have not finished with the whole, well, what's going to happen next, but the next is kind of going to happen with Moses being taken back home and growing up there at home. So I think we have enough of the kind of a bathing in the water and the reeds kind of and all of that. Yeah, just see the area. Pond here in the. Yeah, I don't think it maybe I think by now maybe you can see there's the big lake. I mean the bigger lake. This is a pond. That's a bigger lake over there. I recorded there as well, just from the opposite side.